coming to the most important two topics of the second lecture, that is the principles of management. So, we have seen that is the second layer or second period of the overall evolution of management, and under the evolution of management, under the principles of management, we have two. One, it is the scientific of principles of management, and the second one is about the scientific management, right. Mostly the principles of management, it is also been called as the 14 principles of management, right. It is a kind of an interchange of the name, or most the people represent that particular lecture, the particular topic in that manner as such. Now, among these 14 principles of management, been as already said, these are the 14 principles which are been applicable for both technical level as well as the managerial level. So, we need to understand the most important point, the 14 principles of the principles of management can be applied for the technical aspects as well as the managerial aspects. Now, coming to the first and foremost principle of the management, first one is the division of work. So, under the division of work, we have the understanding of division of work. That means, the work has to be classified in according to the specialization or according to the group levels as such. Why and what is the importance in that? While we do in that manner, when the work is being divided as per the specialization or as per the group level, the performance of the whole group or whole specialization to one area or one particular place, the efficiency will be more higher, right. So, that is the reason the first and foremost the parameter of the principles of management is the division of work. Again I am putting it up, the work has to be divided into two or many number of specialization, whatever is there in the kind of an organization, and when it is been specialized as such, or when it is being divided into the group format, that group can perform to more highest level of efficiency and effectiveness as such. So, that is what is the first point, division of work. Now, coming to the second point of the principles of management, we have the second point, it is the authority, and the second point it is authority. And what do we mean by authority is, under the authority, the meaning it refers that the individual employee will be given some kind of a power designated from the management. So, whatever the management has been given in the form of an order, that particular power would be applied or would be delivered upon or would be implied upon the subordinate as such. That is what is called as the authority as such. So, when we speak about the authority, the power is being defined by the management, from the management to the subordinate, and when it is been defined from the management to the subordinate, it can have variation from one organization to other organization, but ultimately whatever the power is been designated from the superior to the subordinate, that would be having a right to the superior to be applied on the subordinate. The full right is been given to that at the superior level. Now, coming to the third point, that is the discipline. What do we mean by discipline in case of the third point? The discipline is referred as to what extent the individuals are been working in an organization, how extent they are ethical in the organization, how ethical they are performing their duties, all that refer to the discipline as such. So, when we mean that discipline, if the individuals are able to work to the highest discipline, there is no need of monitoring system or no need of the superior monitoring towards the subordinate system at all. Since we have a lag in that particular level, we do enable the superiors at the certain levels of the process. Now, we can say that if the discipline is been adapted to the highest level, the implementation of the monitoring system can be completely eliminated from such type of a system. But since we lag at that particular level, we need to have an enabling of the discipline in that particular organizations as such. Now, coming to the fourth point, that is unity of command. Now, what do we mean by unity of command is, any subordinate need to get the orders from the superior, or any subordinate or number of subordinates can be there, but they need to be only one superior. No subordinate should be reporting to more than one superior as such. No subordinate should be reporting to more than one superior as such. So, as said that already, the subordinates, number of subordinates should not report to the superior more than one. What do we mean by that in case of unity of commanders? When only one superior is there, we will be having the implementation of the order which is been given by the superior, or the understanding of the work would be more better when we have only one superior as such. And as unity of command, it goes from the top level to the bottom level, since the superior is the one who commands or orders to the subordinates as such. Now, coming to the fifth point, it is the centralization of the authority. Now, centralization of authority means is the authority is been giving about the power, and if it is been centralized, meaning is that the total power is been designated or it is been laid at one particular central level as such. Now, by doing that, there is a control of not misusing the powers which are been given to the authorities at different levels of designation. Now, if I say that if there are 10 managers which are been who are been given with a particular power, and all the 10 managers may not apply the same power at each and every individual level. So, instead of having that kind of a system, sometimes it stands to be as a better one to have the same centralized system as such. So, in case of the centralized system, what will happen is the power stands to be at the central level, and from the central level it gets delegated towards the subordinate or the bottom level as such. Okay? Right. We will go to the sixth point. The sixth principle is unity of direction. Now, what do we mean by unity of direction is, under the unity of direction, we have the first and foremost, the level of the direction, means whatever or whoever person is working in an organization, all the employees should work towards the goal or objective of the organization. That is what is called as unity of direction. Again, I am putting it up. Now, when we call as a unity of direction, when organization will be having some mission and vision and goal, and any employee who is working with the same organization need to adopt the similar or same, or should work with the same mission, vision and objectives as. That is what is called as unity of direction. Now, you may be of a different department, right? Example, the HR department or finance department or marketing department. Every individual will be working in a conflict manner, but all the conflict should be in the direction towards the unity of direction. Now, when I said the conflict means a differences between one to one. There can be a differences between one department to other department. Example, finance department will try to reduce the expenditure, whereas marketing department will try to increase the expenditure. Now, there is a conflict between both the department, but both the department decision should lead towards the unity of direction, which is the ultimate goal for the performance of the organization as such. Now, coming to the next point, that is the subordination of individual interest to the group interest. Now, what do we mean here? Any individual, he would have one interest as such, and similarly the organization would have one kind of an objective as such. Individual interest has to collectively coincide with the coordinate with the particular corporate or the organization objective. It should coordinate with that. It should not be any kind of a conflict to the interest towards the group interest as such. That means group is nothing but the organization. So, organization interest, whatever it is, according to the organization interest, the individual interest has to coordinate or be in aligned to that particular organization's interest as such. That is what we call as a subordination of individual interest to the group interest as such, right. Now, coming to the next one, it is the scalar chain. Now, the scalar chain, what do we mean by scalar chain? It is the level of subordination. That means, if you see, there are different three types of different levels. One, it is a broader level. Second, it is a narrow level. Third, mixed of broad and narrow level, which is a more mixed level or more good level as such. Now, broader level, you can see such type of organization structure in case of the military organization, where a colonel would be having a number of subordinates, and similarly in case of a narrow organization, you can see in case of a research organization, where in case of research organization you will see only the narrow structure as such, the subordinates will be very less in number. So, both this type of organization can be suitable to a kind of a specialized organization, but most of the time 90% of the time the organization in general will suit to the scalar chain which have a mixed level. That means this top superior will have a minimum number of subordinates, and that number of subordinates again will have a minimum number of a subordinates, and it will flow till the last level which we call as the low level management. Now, this way of management from the top level to low level in the form of a scalar chain will ultimately enable the control over the organization and control over the subordinates by the superior. So, when there is a control over the subordinates by the superior, it will make an ultimate process of performance of the overall organization structure. Now, as said, if the subordinates are more in number, the superior would not be able to control the state of situation, and similarly if it is very less in number, the superior will be enforcing huge task to the subordinate. Both these situations will be becoming a huge burden or a task in terms of making an organization better. So, that is why there we need to understand that what type of scalar chain we need to have, so that it will provide a better understanding in terms of the overall organization structure as such. Now, coming to the next point, it is the remuneration. Remuneration is one what we deal with about giving the payment to the employees or wages to the employees. Now, if the wages are not sufficient to the employees, ultimately the performance of employees towards the organization will have a decrease in level. And similarly, if you are giving the wages without the performance being obtained from the employees, that will also lead towards the performance of misuse for the organization as such. So, both will have a drastic decline in the performance as such. So, remuneration is one where we should motivate the employee by giving a certain level of minimum requirement for the livelihood, and also we should have the ability of making them motivate in such a manner that the remuneration will ultimately become one of the principle in terms of increasing the overall principles of management. Among all these 14 principles of management, the most of the workers or majority of the employees of our workers will mostly get interested in this area as such, which is called as a remuneration, because there is where the employee is getting benefited, or he sees that to his work what he is being paid as most important to calculate in terms of his work he is been making towards the organization. Now, coming to the next point, so next point, the order is the one how we are placing the 3M, that is what is the order. Now, what is the 3M? Men, machine, material, these are the three, and this three how we are placing it. Now, again this three are supposed to be given importance. Now, the exactly how we are placing and where you are placing is what is the importance we give consideration in case of order. And the three parameters which are given importance are men, machine, material. All the three are given important, should be given important, that is what is the order in case of the principles of management, because men is the one who is making the productivity and material is the one who is making the productivity in the form of a product, and machine is the one which is converting the material in the form of a product. So, all these three together we can see that man is the one who is taking the material and converting that material through the machine to form a to fulfill a need of a customer to some requirement as such. So, ultimately this 3M is the most important how you are placing. If you are giving importance to men morely or highly, then the importance is been decreased in the machine and material, then ultimately the performance of the organization will be have a decline. If you are giving importance to only for machine, then the performance in the men and material will have a decline. And if you are giving importance only for material, then ultimately the performance upon men and machine will have a decline. So, there is a need for the organization that it need to give importance for all the 3 M, which is men, machine and material. Men, machine and material. Now, what extent we give the importance to this 3 is what is being most replicated in the form of a performance of an organization in as the 10th order, which is the principle of management. Now, coming to the next one, that is initiative. Now, the initiative refers to what is the employee or how the employee is making an initiation towards the performance. Now, majority of the time we see that employees do not try to perform or they do not start to initiate it, but the organization or employees, the companies want the employees who are being initiators, because the initiator will try to learn more faster than the people who are been lagging to initiate as such. Now, due to this initiation, the companies also will get benefited because there is an adaptability towards the change in the technology. As said, the technology does not stand to be constant and the technology continuously gets on being changing over or updation, and since the technology gets updated, if you are being non-initiator, then you cannot get updated to the technology as such. So, in such cases what will happen, you will be not trying to benefit towards the organization, since if you are being an initiator, any change in the technology towards the organization can be adapted to a large extent. As I said, one example during the initial days is when the people were not able to adapt from the implementation of a computers in the automation, they were been asked to take a voluntary retirement scheme. So, why? Because they were not being able to initiate in terms of change over that, but the company wanted to initiate the change from the manual level to the systematic or automation level. Now, that initiation was not been supported or was not being able to be supported by the employees as such. Because of that inability of supporting towards that initiation, the employees were been asked to go for an VRS, which is voluntary retirement scheme. So, that is the reason this initiation will make the company blindly go for an adaptation of a new technology whenever there is a change in the technology as such, and definitely the technology does not stand to be constant and it will have a continuous change or updation in the particular technology process. Now, coming to the next point, it is the stability of the tenure of the personnel. Meaning of stability of tenure of the personnel means to what extent the employees are been staying with the same organization. The more the employees are staying with the same organization, it reflects about the stability of the tenure. If the employees are not withstanding with the organization for a longer duration, it reflects their inability or instability towards the organization. Any organization will be more beneficial if they are able to stable with the organization, because it gives the confidence about the employee towards the upgradation as such. Now, example, you can see number of software companies are there with the Indian origin. The majority of the people try to go with Infosys as such. Why? Because the employees who get into the Infosys, they never try to withdraw back from the organization, or they try to withdraw back comparatively very less than comparing to other organizations as such. Why? Because they are being able to have such type of relation with the organization, and since that stability is also one of the reason, the employees stability in that particular organization has also maybe one of the reason why the organization would have been made to stand at the #1 position in the Indian origin as such. Clear? So, stability of tenure, it indicates about the longer duration the company will be benefited more, but longer duration means with the level of performance, not without the level of performance. Employee performing and staying with the same organization for a longer duration, definitely such type of situation will be more beneficial to the organization as such. Now, coming to the next point, it is equity. Equity stands with the equal importance for all the employees or all the people who are working in an organization. No individual are being differentiated from one to one. Example, if a uniform is been implemented in an organization, all the employees are been provided or been instructed to wear the uniform. There is no difference between a manager and a subordinate, or superior or a subordinate. Everyone has to wear the particular uniform. And similarly, every individual who is working in an organization, everyone will be paid with the salary on the same date, which means that equality as such. And similarly, every individual will be given with a place to work as such. Now, that is also an equality. Now, since you or we give the individual equality, that means employee given an equality, then the employee will try to adapt a performing process towards the organization. When we are differentiating the employee to employee, that itself reflects that the equality has been non-existent, and due to that the employees churning or may come out of the organization more in number. That means the stability will decrease with related to that particular kind of an organization. And coming to the last point of the principles of management, that is E-Spirit D Corps. Under E-Spirit D Corps, it means that team coordination. Now, what does the team coordination mean? It is the one which stands for the most effectiveness and efficiency all over the organization. Now, that E-Spirit D Corps, it is an initiation among the team spirit. If one fails to fulfill a task, remaining people whoever are there in a team should motivate or should rise to that standard to make them to work, whoever had been failed to that particular occasion, and collectively they would, or collectively they shall fulfill the task which has been assigned to them. Now, that is what is called as E-Spirit D Corps, and expected level of E-Spirit D Corps is at least at the department level it has been expected in the organizations. If the E-Spirit D Corps has been enabled at least at the department level, the coordination among all the departments can be easily attained to a large extent as such. So, these are the 14 points of the principles of management, and all these 14 principles of management are equally important both for technical as well as the managerial applications, right. Now, coming to the next one, the scientific management. So, under the scientific management we have the three layers. The three layers, the first one, it is the four principles, and second it is the area of focus, and third it is the managerial practice as such. Again I am putting it up. First one is principles, second areas of focus, third it is managerial practices. Now, there are four principles, there are three area of focus, there are two managerial practices. Now, under the four principles, the first and foremost principle is develop a scientific approach. F.W. Taylor is the author who has given the application or theory of scientific management. Now, what he has done is he has applied the scientific levels in the scientific approach for calculating each element of one's work. That means, a work which is been done, in that work each and every element is been calculated scientifically by measuring or ensuring some standard time. So, how he has done? He has made to work that particular same element by number of people, and by making to work number of people he have arrived to one particular standard, and that was being ensured as a standard of that particular work as such. That is the way what he has done, that is scientific approach. That means, he has made the employees to work for the same task, and after making them to work for the same task, he has made that particular task as a standard as such. Now, coming to the second one, scientifically select, train and develop each worker. When and how? After approaching the particular scientific work, measuring that particular element, after identifying the deficiency level that whichever worker was not able to complete, now that particular worker were been specially been required or specially requested to train, teach and develop each worker in the selected area, so that each individual would be able to complete the particular the task which is being given to them as such. That is the second point as such. Now, third one, cooperate with workers to ensure the job match plans with the principles as such. The workers made to ensure that job match plans to the principle. So, whatever the principle was been then, what is the principle? It is the scientific management. Now, what is the scientific management? To study about the measure of the element of the work. So, the people or the workers were ensured that the job, that whatever the work is done during the duration matches to that particular job. By that only you can identify the effectiveness upon that particular element of the principle as such. Now, coming to the fourth one, ensure appropriate division of labor. Now, ensure appropriate division of labor is again nothing but the classification of labor according to the specialization. The classification of labor according to the specialization will lead towards the specialization group, and that particular specialization group alone, when we are fixing it up, it will make us to try to produce that particular product or process with a more effectiveness, since we have made a segregation of the specialized group or specialized employees as such. Now, coming to this particular ensure appropriate division of labor, since the division is been done, there is also a better information to monitor about the similar kind of job, what extent they are doing or not. Say for example, if I am dividing the division of labor, under the division of labor there is a drilling specialization. Under the drilling specialization, if there are 200 employees, now all these 200 employees can or would be given similar kind of a work. Now, all these 200 employees, to what extent they are been working, to what extent they are performing, how is the difference between one employee to the other employee, it is all been easy to monitor, since we are able to classify according to the specialization the employees into. Now, after the four principles, we will get into the three areas of focus. Now, under the three areas of focus, the first one is task performance. Now, task performance is nothing but what are the tasks which are been done during the process of the work. Now, each and every small parameter is also a task, since that if that particular work is not completed, then the overall task does not get completed. That is why it is called as an area of focus. Now, every individual level of minute understanding has to be done to understand about the performance of the particular task. Why? Because if something is not required in that particular task, it can be eliminated, and once it can be eliminated, we would be having a better performance from every individual who are working at that particular task as such. That is why task performance is to be done under the area of focus. Now, second one, supervision. Now, the area of supervision is becoming very simpler. Why? Because we are specializing into a group, or we are trying to group the people or area of the work into the specialized, and we are also enabling the standards. So, enabling the standards and also specializing, we would be able to make that supervision more simpler as such. So, under the supervision process, it makes easier in terms of the work which we are supposed to supervise as being classified according to the worker levels. And coming to the third level, that is the motivation. So, under the motivation, the level of employees where we are being the workers where we are not able to perform to that particular level, under that particular level, the workers will be able to be motivated by providing the skill sets or the training or teach and develop level, so that the individuals get motivated to more perform or to meet to the standards what they are supposed to be adapted. And the people who are able to perform, definitely they will be motivated or to be more motivated to make the more better performance is also been applicable. So, these are the areas which they focused in the scientific management. So, the areas which were being focused in the scientific management was one, the task performance, how to make the reduction in the supervision, and how to motivate the employees to do more better understanding as such. And coming to the next one, that is the two managerial practices. Under the two managerial practices, the scientific management was being implemented with two areas. One is the piece rate system, and the second one is time and motion study. Under the piece rate system, how extent an individual worker is working, that individual will be provided with that level of incentives. That means, for every individual work you are done, that according to that particular work you will be given your incentive. Suppose if I am supposed to do 10 tasks, and if that 10 task is been done, according to that 10 only my incentives will be given. That means, for every one individual the incentives will be given. Suppose if other employees working or completing only 2 completion of a product, then only for 2 he will be given with the incentives as such. So, individually what is that happening under the piece rate system? More I produce, more I am getting incentives, that is the piece rate system advantages over as such. That means, no individual will get burdened, no individual will think that they are being overtasked. Every individual, to what extent they can work, to that extent they can gain the incentive process or incentives as such. Now, last one, that is time and motion study. Under the time and motion study, the scientific management studies about the individual standardization process, what time is consumed and what the particular study is been involved in each and every task as such. That is what happens in case of time and study. We will see the time and motion study in the future lectures as such. Motion is nothing but ideal movement of the task which has been happening, it has to be eliminated, and whatever the task is been required, it is supposed to be taken into the consideration as such. Right. So, coming to the quiz part, we have 5 questions in the quiz. Do answer all the 5 questions in a span of 1 minute. Right. So, I hope you would have answered for all the 5 questions. So, answer for all the 5 questions is the option number C. Right. So, we will close here for this session. Right. We will meet